The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Are you a songwriter? Are you looking to turn your songwriting passion into a full-time gig? Whether you are just at the start of your songwriting journey or a seasoned industry professional, this show is made for you. Welcome to the Songwriter Show, bringing together songwriting news, interviews, and community. Now, welcome your host, Sarantos.
Good evening, everyone. Another wonderful Tuesday night, and I'm so excited to be with you. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I welcome you back wholeheartedly to the Songwriter Show. I'm your host, Sarantos, a solo music artist who's been writing lyrics for as long as I can remember. Words are so important to me, and that's why I'm thrilled to host this show every Tuesday night. I believe that every song is a story. The Songwriter Show is broadcast live on #1 ranked W4CY Radio and has listeners in all 206 countries in the world and every state in the U.S. The station is licensed with ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, and Sound Exchange, and has partnerships throughout the music industry, including iHeartRadio and exposure to over 300 million listeners. Tonight's first guest is Bobby. Bobby is a member of the Vics. Dancing on the line of the old and the new, with originality in hand, lies Pittsburgh-based quartet The Vics. They perform regularly, and they're a contagiously energetic avenue of nouveau indie rock littered with classic blues overtones. After their formation in 2016, the group has swept the Pittsburgh music scene and are rapidly permeating the music industry with no indication of slowing down. Welcome to the show, Bobby. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you? Thanks for having me.
No problem. I love your story, and always wonderful to have on the show someone from Pittsburgh. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Chicago, a hardworking kind of town. It mirrors Chicago in my mind, even though you guys are out on the East Coast.
Yeah, I can see that where you may draw the line there. Totally.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about when did you start playing?
I started playing personally back in, I'd say I was about 12 years old, maybe 11. My uncle had brought me an electric guitar, and then it kind of took off from there.
Okay, so is that your instrument of torture, the electric guitar? Is that what you like to, show off?
Yeah, I wouldn't say show off, but it all kind of stems from there. The singing, the songwriting, and stuff. Guitar is kind of like the home base. Yeah.
How about tell us a little bit about your process? Do you start with guitar? Do you start with lyrics, melody? What's your secret potion?
Yeah, I like to basically just kind of sit down with the guitar, start working out chords, and then it's kind of a mixture of the lyrics, melody, and chords all at once. Just playing and then seeing, what melody may come, and then kind of piecing the lyrics to fit it.
Okay. Do you just start playing around? Do you determine what you want your key to be, your BPM, or do you just wing it?
Yeah, no, that's a good question, actually. I found a lot of the times I'll kind of start out with a song. It usually helps to start out with it slower, or maybe I just unintentionally sing it slower and play it slower, and as the tune develops, I'll pick it up as the other instruments become involved. But I mean, definitely just I kind of have a pretty good idea of what keys are available, and where the song has potential to maybe grow, and then kind of work around that key. But the key and the tempo and that stuff, they're kind of fluid. They'll tend to shift as the song and the lyrics really and the melody take hold and develop.
Okay, sure. Any teachers you want to give a shout out to? Anyone lyrically, guitar-wise, musically, in any capacity that really influenced you that you want to tell us about?
Yeah, I mean the Beatles always a huge one. A little more, I'm just going to jump ahead like a few years here, but more modern music, I'm a big fan of, a lot of the producers kind of working behind the scenes, like Dan Auerbach and stuff. Of course, he's also on the forefront with the many projects he's involved in. But the real big influences, kind of the people that work with the bigger artists and stuff behind the scenes, that they always seem to have their hand in everything.
Yeah, I hear you. How about connections in the industry? You find those easy to make, difficult to make?
I feel they can be difficult, but I feel it's more of an attitude sort of thing. I feel like we all have these ideas of connections and people we want to meet up with and work with, but I think the more social you are, the more open you are about your music and what you write and stuff, natural connections sort of form that you may not even expect or realize. They may be a certain step in a direction that you may not even realize existed, But I find they're fairly easy to make if you just kind of have the right attitude, just the general love for music. They kind of come, secondary to that, and then you kind of take a step back sometimes and realize, like, wow, I've made these connections already. It's more of like a hindsight sort of thing, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think also you're right. You also got to be genuine. I've been to a couple conferences, and it's kind of entertaining how you see people walk around the room. They ask you who you are. When they find out you're a fellow musician, they just kind of leave you 3 seconds later.
Mm.
It's like, I think when you're genuine, you're going to, go where the wind takes you. And if you're cool with everybody and you're not, at these conferences, sometimes people are looking like, what can you do for me? And they literally, just like social media, they'll ask you straight up, like, hey, can you, retweet my song? It's like, I don't even know you. It's like kind of an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, no, 100%. I've been to a few conferences, and it's like I'd be out there, and I almost have that sort of mindset, like, oh, who here is going to be my next step or whatever. But, it never happens that way. It's more so the people that you connect with on a personal level, and then you find the similarities and the common interests and loves, and then they just sort of organically happen.
Yeah, and then it's going to last that way too. I completely agree with you. All right, so Bobby, I have a really important question for you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Who would win a fight between Spider-Man and Batman?
Oh, that is a tough one. I wasn't ready for that one. Give me a second here. I'm trying to go through all the logistics of it. I'm going to say probably, I'm guessing Batman. Is this on the assumption we don't know who Bruce Wayne is?
It could be whatever assumption you want, buddy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would say Batman, just for the sole fact that in a dire injury, Bruce Wayne could probably, get help needed in a much quicker manner and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We may have a little more resources, but I don't know. I haven't been face-to-face with either of them in that situation, but if I had to put money on it, I'd say maybe Batman.
He does know Superman, so you're probably right. Well, hopefully Spider-Man doesn't do death mode like the Avengers. Then Batman might have his hands full. But tell us a little bit about your touring. You guys do mostly East Coast around the Pittsburgh area. Or did you guys ever branch out?
Actually, we've been fairly isolated, kind of in the Pittsburgh area. Just kind of growing. We're a fairly young band. We all met in school. We were a band down in school for a couple years. We've been really breaking into the Pittsburgh area and kind of doing the best we can and really doing well there. And we just recently, we've got in touch with booking agencies, and we're actually setting up our first tour now, and we're starting to do more shots around, the East Coast and stuff, and we're going to kind of start taking that and running with it as the year, continues, and then next year we're kind of really starting to try and focus on that.
Yeah, I think you're smart, my friend. I think a lot of people overexpand and overreach, and I think you're doing it the right way. Start locally, get a following there, and then just slowly branch out. Otherwise, you'd want to be touring and doing shows with like 5 people in the crowd,
Yeah, but you don't want to spread yourself too thin.
Yeah. What any apps on your phone that you think you can't live without that help you with your songwriting, with practicing, anything like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the 2 big ones that come to mind is just, for more so guitar and keeping myself sharp on that, just a metronome app. I can't remember it off the top of my head. And then a simple tuner light app. I think I use those. If not the tuner one, I use the metronome one pretty much routinely whenever I practice. I mean, the notes app, of course, I keep all my lyrics in my notes app, which I think could also be a bit of a gamble if I were to lose my phone.
Yeah. But, well, hopefully you have the iCloud. Things are backed up, I hope.
Yeah. And most of them, I pretty much have a good memory for it, but yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the apps that I use for metronome is Tempo. I'm not sure if that's the one you use, but it's pretty cool.
No, I might have to check that one out.
Yeah.
I'm pretty limited on the one I have. Yeah.
Yeah, it does a lot of cool things. One of my songwriting teachers pointed that out to me, and when I started 6 years ago, I never used the metronome, and then about a year into it, working with him, I got addicted to it, and now I've kind of weaned myself off it a little bit, but no, it definitely is great.
Yeah. No, I think it's definitely a very important tool. What do you play, if you don't mind me asking?
Mostly piano, synth.
Yeah.
I mean, I can screw on the guitar and drums, but I don't consider myself really that I play those. But, of course, on a computer, you can pretend you play everything. And if you play the piano, then you can really pretend you play everything. But, but I don't claim to.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I play guitar, but it's easy to say, when we look at a record, say, I could play bass and piano and all that. But, yeah, we're lucky with that, I think.
Yeah, and I think if you sat there and practice, one song, or like the last couple of years, I see a lot of famous artists, they make it a point of playing a little piano or playing a guitar, and you can learn anything for one song, but again, I don't want to be fake about it, To me, the only thing I'd probably ever play again in concert would be a piano, but again, I like kind of running around, interacting with the crowd more than I like playing the piano probably, so.
Yeah. I think I think we're lucky, we have all these tools available to us. We can at least start to develop ideas and layers for certain things, but when the time comes, I'm always going to call in the more skilled musician for the instruments that I can't necessarily perform on,
Yeah, I'd love to, being a solo artist, I did the Toronto Music Festival a few years ago, and 2 weeks before, the band bailed on me. So I struggled to find a cover band, and then I swore after that I got to get a steady band, and I've tried for the last 2 years, and I finally gave up on it because unless you're big enough, they just, even though I'm paying them well, they don't want to consistently come practice and do gigs. So I just kind of, and I can't be like Ed Sheeran who sits up there and does it all himself, and I can't be like people that just play to a track, like DJs nowadays, I just can't. I want to have full band up there. So I don't know if that's just me, but that's one of the challenges I have as a solo artist.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I think I feel like I would be in the same boat. I'm just lucky enough that I have at least core group of at least 4 members, 2 guitars and a bass and a drum. We can, we at least have enough, but I can't imagine, we've had issues like trying to get bassists, and it can be a whole other task and job to try and just find someone that wants to show up,
Yeah. I've, like I said, I've really struggled. I even was paying people to rehearse, once every week or two, and paying them I don't even remember, $50-$80 for rehearsal and $300-$400 for gigs. And in the Chicago area, man, it was hard to get people to be consistent. And they blow you off last minute, and then you're kind of just sitting up there without a key instrument. So. Yeah,
that's interesting. And I mean, at the same time, you have to ask yourself, are those the people you necessarily want. But I mean, wow, that blows my mind actually.
Yeah, it's I don't know if it's unique to Chicago, but I've started doing the reverse of the Beatles. I'm focusing on studio musician now, and eventually, if I make it, then I'll tour all over the place again.
Yeah, attract them instead of seek them out. Yeah, totally.
What's the coolest road trip you guys ever been on?
I'd have to think. I'd say we went out to a music conference in Lancaster, Pennsylvania recently, and that one was pretty cool. We stayed the whole weekend there. We visited a bunch of panels and all that, and we played. It was just cool. There was this one bar at the hotel that had a cool name that we ended up actually naming a tune we're working on now after. That one was pretty fun. We did one up to Canada that was cool up in Toronto, but that was a very quick one. We didn't really get to sit down and enjoy each other's company in the festival like the Lancaster one.
Yeah. What's the funniest thing you want to share with the fans that's happened to you in the last year?
That's a very tough one. I mean, this one it's not necessarily funny. It's more of just an interesting. There's a cool one. Our new single we wrote. It was it's not necessarily funny, but it's more of just an interesting experience. We had a show. It's our new single, Fourth and Clay, available on all platforms, of course. It was one. We had just about 2 hours or so to kill before a show, and we just kind of walked around this town, and it was very kind of in barren coal town or steel town. I'm not sure which one, but it used to be very thriving and stuff. And then it was kind of eerie how you could tell the town and the infrastructure was once just very thriving and very positive and very progressive. And then it almost just seemed empty and barren, and all the stores were closing down now, because the town may have been vacated 20, 30 years ago. But, we ended up just writing this tune about walking around this town and the different interesting things we saw in the interactions. It was on the corner of 4th and Clay, and I don't know. I wouldn't say it's funny, but it's more interesting, I guess.
Yeah. That's a great line, on the corner of 4th and Clay. All right, tell us a little bit about where our listeners can find out more information about you, and where can they purchase your music?
Yeah, so our music's all available on Bandcamp, Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, pretty much every streaming platform. I'd say to keep up to date with what we're doing and the shows we're playing, like I said earlier, we're setting up tours right now. I'd say check us out on Instagram, the Vics Official, and then on Facebook, the Vics Band. That's kind of where we try and keep in touch best and with our audience and keep them posted on what we're doing.
Wonderful. All right, well, we're going to listen to your song now. Give us about 20 seconds what inspired it.
What is it? What song? Oh, 4th and Clay, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I was saying earlier, we were walking around this town that you could tell it was thriving. There was an art scene, but it was just very barren and kind of depressing. But you could tell that there's still people here. This is still a home. This is still a place where people live and have experiences and stuff. And we kind of tried to relay that in the song. With
Wonderful. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. It was a pleasure having you on the show, and I wish you nothing but the best, and we're going to hear your song right now.
Very well, little lady. And thank you, madam. Thank you very much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, tap right up. Here they are. Fresh roasted peanuts, popcorn, candied apples, and taffy. They're all fresh and all delicious. All right, folks, step right in.
sight. I hope nobody looks my way. I'm sure this place once had some peace of mind, but it's been gone for far too long. Don't go that way, you'll see the man alone who just stares at the ground. The buildings shake, windows replaced with boards. They say it's just another day at 4th and Clay. At 4th and Clay. Charlie's on the wall with James. Marilyn is stealing the scene. I can't believe this place had once sold out. There'd be no minimum to get me to leave. It must get cold the way that fellow pleads for a light. I think he's probably had one before. A broken door casts a shadow that leans to the right. They say it's just another day at 4th and Clay. At 4th and Clay. I only hope your spirits can come back. Never felt fair, you've worked to the ground. Hidden from the light in this hole. You're not trapped, but you can't get away. I only hope your spirits can come back. Never felt fair, you've worked to the ground. Hidden from the light in this hole. You're not trapped, but you can't get away. From 4th and Clay. From 4th and Clay.
And now, welcome this week's special guest.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that tune. I'm super excited about our next guest, Carlos Battey. Carlos has written and produced for the likes of Madonna, Justin Bieber, Chris Brown, Florida, Sean Kingston, Jennifer Lopez, Cheryl, Jennifer Hudson, Boyz II Men, Bruno Mars, Ron Isley, Cheryl Cole, Rihanna, Charlie Wilson, Johnny Gill, New Edition, and many, many more. He's a multi-platinum singer-songwriter signed to Universal Music Publishing, and he won his first Grammy in 2011. Carlos, welcome to the Songwriter Show. How are you doing tonight?
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being on our show. I'm very honored. I'm reading your bio and just can't help but be impressed. Tell us a little bit about how you got to this point in your career. Is there, obviously I'm sure you've worked tremendously hard for it, but is there one piece of advice you can listen to some of the aspiring singer-songwriters listening to the show right now?
Yeah, I would say consistency and accuracy. Those are two things I kind of live and die by, and that's what got me to the place that I am right now in my career.
Wonderful. I think what you just said is very, very key, because one of the things that we've talked about previously, and I've seen a lot, is people give up. People don't realize it takes 10 years to become an overnight sensation, and consistency is the key. You're so right about that, Carlos.
Thank you.
What got you started in music? Was your family musical? What got you bitten by the bug?
Well, I got to tell you, honestly, I thought it was just something that it was just solely me. And then as I get older in my life, I realized that my father was a low-key songwriter, kind of a hidden talent that I just found out recently. But before that, I just thought it was just me and I just love music so much. I found myself imitating people on the radio, and that's really kind of what made me kind of feel like this is maybe I'm special in that regard of maybe imitation, and then follow with songwriting after that.
Okay. What do you say to a songwriter that thinks he needs to move to LA or Nashville to make it? Do you agree with that? Do you disagree? What advice would you have for them?
Well, partially. I think that, one, you should always be prepared to have your ducks in a row. I think sometimes people who just jump to LA without, a thought, can sometimes end up getting yourself into, quite precarious situations. And for me, I had this big grandiose notion at 17 years old to run away from home to LA with only $100 in my pocket. And thank God I didn't do that. I got stopped halfway along the way, but had to realize that, you need to build a clientele and just be able to build a relationship. And at this digital age we are in now, you can be able to reach the masses, through a touch of a finger, the click of a button. So, I think half and half. I think LA and Nashville are great cities to build relationships with.
Yeah. So you work with Universal Publishing. Do they require, is it like a 9-to-5 job? Do you have to write like 1 song a day, 10 songs a day? What's that like?
No. I've been published by them for quite a while, and basically they're a publishing company. It just allows me to be creative, allow me to work and create, and they help find interesting situations for me to jump into, whether that be co-writes or things like that. So it's pretty much a free reign for me to be creative and do what I do. Okay.
And then when you come up with something, do you run it past them and see if they have any leads, where to place it, either in a TV show or in another singer?
Yes. In that regard, if I have a finished product, I'll send it in, and then they'll be able to review it and let me know what opportunities there are for that particular song.
Okay. One of the questions I ask a lot, and I'll ask you, I ask other artists, how do you figure out if a song is going to make the cut to the CD? How do you figure out if it's a song that you're even going to present to Universal, or do you present everything and they let you know, hey, that this has potential, or how do you figure that out?
Well, I think that sometimes us as creatives, we have this notion of, we either think that everything is great or everything sucks. So for us, we kind of need somebody to be a bit of our incubator to decide, hey, this may be special or not. So I think you should just send and play your music for everyone. That's what I do. I send it out and get my thoughts and opinions. As funny as the biggest hits that I've had were songs that I was, feeling okay about. They weren't like songs that were emotionally tied to, and the ones that I was emotionally tied to didn't do anything. So it's funny how that works.
I hear you, brother. It's exactly happened to me, and I think it's happened to everybody. And I think you're right. That's the hardest part, especially if you write a bunch. It's always trying to decide, well, what should I even, use this for? Should it go in the maybe pile, in the awesome pile, or should it just never see the light of day?
Yeah.
You've been in the room with some pretty important people, but if you could pick a musician, dead or alive, that you'd want to be in a room with, who would it be?
Oh, man, that is such a great question. I probably would say Michael Jackson, first and foremost. He's been the really just an inspiration to me in a whole, and I just love his music, and I just love his whole vibe, everything about it. I just would have loved to have been a fly on the wall when he created Thriller and Off the Wall and all these great records.
Can you imagine him and Quincy? Like, can you imagine the creative energy in that? I agree with you. I'm an 80s nut, and Michael Jackson is probably my answer too, and I've said this many times. What a creative genius. Yes,
110%.
What's your process like? Let's get into your head a little bit. Do you do music first, melody, lyrics, or do you just mix and match, never do it the same way?
Honestly, man, melody is key for me, man. I don't try to put a lyric down until I'm able to sing that melody, until it's really infectious. I think that, that's the key to at least in my mind of how people retain music. They listen to the melody first. They want to sing along to it. They want to hum along to it. And I just got to have that thing that makes people go, oh, I love that melody. And the lyrics follow shortly after. And I go from there. But yeah, typically it's a guitar, piano, and it's just melody, and then I start kind of working around a concept and things like that.
Yeah. So nowadays, I'm sure I don't have to tell you this, but it seems like every hit song has like 5 to 10 co-writes on it. Do you ever write by yourself? Do you always co-write? What's your preference?
Well, more recently, I write mainly by myself, or I have one other co-writer. I think when you're getting into the game and you're trying to, work with as many people as possible, co-writing is inevitable because, there's people who came from the label, there's people who came from the publisher, and kind of everybody just wants to get in and work. And, that's kind of how the name of the game works, especially as a up-and-coming songwriter.
Yeah, and I'm sure sometimes people get thrust in your lap that you don't want to work with, or you don't have the time to work with, actually, if you're involved in a bunch of different projects.
Yeah. There's definitely, co-writes that I haven't just chosen, but I will say my best co-writes were people who I didn't know. Somebody brought someone to me and said, "Hey, this person's amazing," and the next thing you know, we got a hit together. So you'd be surprised where the best songs come from.
Yeah. Another question I ask a lot of people is, we all try to protect each other. How do we avoid scams in this industry? Or tell us about a scam you fell for.
Well, I would say don't give your money to anyone who's telling you that they're going to change your life or make you a star. That doesn't make any sense. So I'm all about investing in yourself, but just be wary of people promising things that they really can't deliver. One thing I've learned very early on is that no one can make you a star. You have to have the hard work and integrity, and it doesn't happen overnight. And for me, I remember, just starting out and, people saying, "Oh, well, we're going to have you on this and have you on that and have you on this." And I'm like, okay, great. It's, "Oh, we just need this and that and this and or sign here." And, it's really a pool full of sharks, honestly. You have to be careful of what you sign. And thank God I didn't sign any horrible contracts in my career, but I learned very early on to get an attorney to look over things like that. Yeah,
absolutely. If you could pick a superpower, what superpower would you love to have? Any superpower in the world?
Ooh, that's another good question, man. I gotta say invisibility for me. Everybody wants to fly and stuff, but I'm like, man, it's better to be invisible sometimes so you can hear conversations you're not supposed to. You can, you know what I'm saying? You could really, be in it without being in it. You know what I'm saying? If that makes any sense. So I like invisibility.
Yeah. All right, we'll have to find the cloak of invisibility from Harry Potter for you. If anyone's got that at home, just mail it to the show and we'll send it out to you.
That'd be great.
Do you have a favorite person on Instagram that you love to follow?
Kevin Hart, man. I think Kevin Hart, Will Smith, those two guys. Kevin Hart, because I caught very early when he started out as a comedian, and I just love his grind and passion and just how he never quit. He really inspires me to want to go hard, and even at the level that he's at right now, he still doesn't stop. He still pushes boundaries and tries to get to the next level. And as far as Will Smith, the same thing. His posts and the videos that he puts up, this guy is worth millions and millions of dollars, but he still has the time to stay connected with, little old people like myself and everybody around the world. So it's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I follow both those guys. Kevin Hart is hilarious, and I just saw last week his new Netflix special. Wow, he was he really brought it, man. And then Will Smith, I was reading today about how they're giving him crap about the Genie, the reviews and all that. And I'm like, it's hard enough to follow Robin Williams. Again, he's got his own creative spin to it, and I can't wait to see the movie, but I feel bad for him because they're giving him crap. The movie hasn't even come out yet.
Yeah, that's my thing. That's to me about critics who listen to an album and give a review in one day. I'm like, you haven't even really taken the time to listen to it. You haven't. Music and movies are meant to be digested in a way that you watch it and you sit with it, and sometimes you watch it again and then you give your opinion on it. But to me, I think with Will, I think he'll be just fine, obviously. But I think he's one of those guys who's very resilient, and I'm going to see the movie, and I think I support anything that he does. I just believe in people, and I think he's one of those guys who's just a great person.
Yeah, I agree. What's your favorite movie?
Ooh, I gotta say, Coming to America.
Eddie Murphy, Arsenio Hall. I love that movie, man. I'm an '80s child, so everything you're mentioning is like '80s. But
oh yeah, man, that's my jam. And then I heard they're doing part 2, which I'm super excited about as well. So I guess they got greenlit. Yeah, to do Coming to America too. Yeah.
That's awesome. You just made my night. I can't wait to see that. Wow.
Yeah, me too.
That's awesome. I've always, Eddie Murphy kind of went off and did these comedies, and some were great, but, watching like Delirious and Raw and some of those comedies, I mean, just so damn funny. I would give, to see him as a stand-up would just be hilarious. I know he doesn't do it anymore.
Oh, my gosh. Can you imagine? Yeah, that'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah. What's the strangest compliment you've ever gotten for your lyrics or, your melodies or any of your songs?
Strangest comment I would probably say is that how I think somebody came to me and said, "Oh, I love your lyrics. They're so smart." And I was like, I guess kind of thank you. Because it was one of those things that was just never quite, I never heard that before. I was like, smart lyrics? I mean, I'm a smart guy, so I guess that's a compliment, but, it was quite interesting.
Yeah, you know what? That for some reason that reminds me of, when I first started writing. I mean, in grammar school, like 4th grade, I obviously had no idea what I was doing, and it was super simple. And then it almost became like poetry. It was too complex. And you were talking about how you can't figure out what people are going to connect to and stuff, but sometimes the simplest lyric that enables them to use their imagination and fill in a little bit of their story, and people are like, that's a great line, and you're like, really? I wrote a much better line earlier in the song, and people were like, oh, that's too wordy, or they didn't like it. So again, you figured it out more than I have, but I'm working hard and still trying to figure it out, but it's definitely an art to it.
Well, that's amazing. And by the way, thank you for having me on your show too. It's really cool that you have such a great platform.
Oh, you're very welcome, and love to have you on again anytime. But we're winding down here, and I don't want to forget to ask you, how can people contact you? Do you have a website? If someone wants to, use part of your music, they can contact your publisher. But do you have a website if they want to co-write with you?
Yes, of course.
How can they reach out to you?
Yeah, I do. Jackie's Boy Live is my artist name. So it's JACKIESBOY Live, LIVE.com is the website. So you can check that out, and then everything is Jackie's Boy on social media, Instagram, and all that stuff. And for my own personal music, it's on my website, and I'm everywhere as far as Spotify and all that good stuff with the streaming.
So do you release your own stuff also? You don't just write for other people, you release your own stuff?
Yeah, I released my own music about a year and a half ago. I decided to, put my energy and take my talents and put them in investing in myself. And, I had a pretty traumatic surgery a couple years ago, which was kind of threatening my will to sing. Basically, I'm borderline will to live. I had a tumor in my jaw that was pretty gnarly. So I ended up getting my right jaw removed and replaced with a titanium plate. And then that kind of sparked my artist career, me believing in myself. So, I started putting out music.
I'm glad you're doing okay. So you sing and music, right?
Yes, sir.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, definitely. Tell us a little bit about this song we're going to hear in a minute. What do you want us to know about it? What inspired it?
Yeah, Anomaly is a song that I wrote actually about my beautiful wife, Sharon. Shout out to Sharon. She's one of the people who stuck by me and believed in me through every single thing, every single up and down we've had. And it's about finding the one. And Anomaly is one of those, very rare occurrences that don't happen every day. And that's just basically what my wife is.
Wonderful. All right. Now I'm going to ask you one last question. You can't tell me the answer is your wife, but who's the messiest person you know?
I got to tell you, it's myself.
All right. I was going to say, you can't answer your wife because then we're not going to play your song.
No, totally. Yeah, she'd kill me. No, it's myself, man. I'm one of those kind of left people, man. I'm so creative. I don't have time to think about everything, the right brain stuff where I'm putting stuff away. But
but it's organized chaos, right? Like, you know where every post is. Yeah, I'm the same.
It is, man. Like, you look through my email, it's like all over the place, and then someone says, "Can you find this?" And I'll find it in like 10 seconds, but like, I don't know, that looks like freaking hieroglyphics.
So does she yell at you, try to keep you organized?
Oh yeah, all the time, man. I'm on it now. I got this this app called Trello that's really good about organizing. So we'll see. Ask me this in about 6 months.
All right, man. We'll have you back on the show. I got to write that down. We'll ask that. All right. All right, Carlos. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, man. Happy to have you again anytime. Everybody, please check out his website and contact him, buy his music, and we're going to hear your song right now, buddy, okay?
Absolutely, man. Sounds good.
All right, Carlos. Have a great night, man. Bye.
Yes, bye.
All right, here we go.
Here I go again, want somebody to hold. If the girl in my sheets still makes the bed feel cold, so cold. I keep on telling myself that this life's gotta be more than quiet goodbyes, another walk out the door. Oh, oh. 'Cause these empty bottles every night, they don't seem to really satisfy. 'Cause I'm in search of the anomaly, someone to show me who I've never been before. Guess if I'm just speaking honestly, the same old thing doesn't do it anymore. 'Cause I'm in search of the anomaly. A billion people on this earth don't know who you are, but you're the missing part of me. You're the anomaly, and I just need one. I just need one. I just need one. I just need one. I'll be looking for the rest of my life, my baby. Supermarket or the bookstore, just saying, you gotta be out there. I know you gotta be out there. Oh, baby, these empty bottles every night. Everybody showing love, they don't seem to really satisfy. But no, it ain't enough. 'Cause I'm in search of the anomaly. Someone to show me who I've never been before. Guess if I'm just speaking honestly, the same old thing doesn't do it anymore. 'Cause I'm in search of the anomaly. A billion people on this earth don't know who you are, but you're the missing part of me. Oh yeah, you're the anomaly. Let me tell you, girl, I just need one. Just need one pretty lady. I just need one. Oh, won't you come and be my baby? I just need one. So we can go half on the baby. I just need one. Oh yeah, yeah. Something tells me that this could be much more if I let go of the other hearts that I've held before. So show me what it is I'm looking for. 'Cause I don't wanna play the game no more. I wanna close the door, but I gotta be for sure. 'Cause I'm in search of the anomaly. Someone to show me who I've never been before. Guess if I'm just speaking honestly, the same old thing doesn't do it anymore. 'Cause I'm in search of the anomaly. A billion people on this earth don't know who you are, but you're the missing part of me. You're the anomaly. I just need one. And I just need one. I just need one. I just need one. Oh baby, I just need one. I just need one. I just need one. Oh no.
Wow, that's a very cool song, Carlos. I love that melody, and glad. I want to thank both of our guests for being on the show tonight. To any listeners out there who may be artists, if you wish to be on the Songwriter Show, I invite you to submit the interview request form on our website. Thank you so much for listening. I hope your own unique story gets heard all around the world. My name is Sarantos. Please join me every Tuesday night to hear other amazing artists share their fascinating behind-the-scenes stories right here at the Songwriter Show. And I'm going to leave you with one of my songs in closing the show called Why Ask Why. If you listen to the lyrics, I think we all get to a point in our lives where we ask why. Hopefully you like this rock song, and I'll see you again next Tuesday night. Have a wonderful night, everyone, and thank you for listening.
One thing I've learned in my life, sometimes you just never ever know why. When you least expect to go on a ride, all this crap happens and you get hit from the blind side. We got Facebook and all the opinions on what way to ride. So many said they changed the world. God knows if they've tried. Too many things to question those that deny. What's the truth and what is a lie? Why ask why we can't change the world? Why ask why we never get the girl? Why ask why when we still try? Oh, why ask why? Why ask why? And love and tranquility. Where there's trouble in the Middle East, they say it's what we have felt. But is it really that way? But I'll tell you, the one thing I've learned in my life, sometimes you just never ever know why. When you least expect to go on a ride, all this crap happens and you get hit from the blind side. Why ask why we can't change the world? Why ask why we never get the girl? Why ask why when we still try? Oh, why ask why? Why ask why? Is it the truth or is it a lie? Why ask why? Oh, why ask why? 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 Is it the truth or just a damn lie?
Thank you for listening to The Songwriter Show. To keep the momentum going, head over to www.songwritershow.com and join our free music community of artists, songwriters, and producers. That's www.songwritershow.com.